resilience, discussing how we are going to rise above the struggle and move our lives forward. Now, to begin the conversation, if you would please comment below, succeed this week. Succeed this week. I want you to make that declaration to yourself as you step into this Monday. I'm going to succeed at something this week. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to build progress. I'm going to build momentum towards the things that I value. We're going to accomplish something this week. In fact, as I'm mentioning that right now, I'm reminded of a quote from Winston Churchill, where he once said, "Success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm." How many of us in this broadcast, as we're starting this Monday off, right? You may find yourself in a difficult situation. Maybe you're falling victim to the emotion of discouragement, disappointment. Maybe you're looking at where you are now and it's not where you want to be, and it's frustrating. How many of us in this broadcast, put a number 1 in the comment section if you can relate to this, where you have applied a huge amount of effort, you've dedicated your focus, you've put forth a strong amount of attention and energy towards building something, towards accomplishing something, towards achieving something, and you still fell short. It didn't work out. Maybe you knocked on a door and you didn't get the answer that you were hoping for. Maybe you were working diligently to accomplish a specific goal and you gave your all and you still fell short. How many of us can relate to those types of experiences where you show up and you still fall short? And it seems as if what you have is not enough. And it's frustrating, it's discouraging, and you feel like giving up. How many of us can honestly relate to that? I see the comments coming in. Yusuf said, number 1. Vita says, relatable. Marie's putting the fist up. Mom says, grateful for God's covering and protection. Amen. Cam says, 1, I'm there. Marie says, 1, I'm there. I want to talk to each and every single one of you personally. If you find yourself in that position right now, where it's an emotional battle between, should I keep pushing forward or should I give up? Should I throw in the towel and go back to doing what I used to do, or the life that I used to live, or showing up in the way that I used to show up instead of working diligently for this vision or this goal? I want to talk specifically to you to help us understand what's really at play here, right? Because what often takes place is if we fail to make progressive steps towards our goals or to experience some level of progress, what will often happen is hope will be put off. It will be deferred. In other words, hope seems to be slipping away. And when you don't have any hope, when you lose hope, you lose that emotional energy. You lose that connection to your goals. You lose that motivation. And when you don't have any motivation, what often takes place is your creativity, your productivity, as well as your overall drive will begin to plummet. And you'll find yourself in a position where you eventually withdraw or you give up on the very thing that you once enjoyed, the very thing that you once loved, the very thing that you really wanted for your life. But because you're not seeing the results and you become overwhelmed by these emotions, you give in to the impulse to quit. And there's many people that may find themselves in this position. As you saw, and we put those comments up here in the broadcast, there's a lot of people that often feel discouraged because they're not where they want to be. They're not doing the things that they want to do. They're not experiencing the life that they feel they deserve and the life that they envision. So you're not by yourself. Comment below, you're not by yourself. But as it relates to this conversation, what we want to do is you got to stay motivated. Comment below also, stay motivated. I want this conversation to be engaging, right? Interactive. I don't want to just talk to you. I want to talk with you. I want you to join in on where we're going with this specific conversation so you can truly be empowered by this discussion. You got to stay empowered, right? And you have to remain motivated. Now, to remain motivated, I want to break down what motivation truly is so we can gain a deeper understanding of what's really at play. Let's understand, first and foremost, let me put these comments back up on the screen. Motivation is a reason or an incentive to do something. It's a feeling of interest, enthusiasm, or commitment that makes someone take action. And I love this third definition where they describe it as a force that activates and directs your behavior, right? To even break it down even further, motivation is derived from the word motive, right? A motive is your objective. Action is to act on something. So when you have motivation, you're taking action on a particular motive that you have established, meaning it's a reason why you are taking action. And when we lose motivation, what often takes place, family, is we begin to forget or we become blinded as to why we are doing what we're doing, the reason behind our execution, right? The value behind our goal, right? The meaning behind our dream. And there's many reasons why we lose motivation. I've listed a few of these here, and I'll briefly break down some of these that we all experience so we can all be aware of them, right? Number one, we often lose motivation because we only see the bad side in anything that often happens. Number two, we lose motivation when fear gets in the way. Number three, our goals often seem unrealistic, and then the excitement that we once had begins to die down. How many of us have ever been there? You came up with a goal, you came up with a dream, and before you know it, right, the process begin to discourage you, and that is excitement that you once had is no longer there, so you no longer have the motivation. The next one is we don't know what steps to take, and we become overwhelmed or confused. And because confusion and complexity are the enemy of execution, we're not taking action. And the last two, maybe we would rather just be comfortable, and what's required just seems like it's too much. It takes too much time, it's too complex, maybe it takes too much effort, and you have to make too many sacrifices that you're unwilling to make. And the last one is this: many people don't believe that they're talented and that they don't deserve anything better. And this is what causes them to lose motivation. And it's interesting, family, because again, so many people find themselves in this category. I was reading an article just the other day from Time magazine where they described 80% of people that create New Year's resolutions no longer are working towards those goals and those ideas by the month of March. In fact, the majority of them by the month of January, they're done, right? And we're describing a group of people that had the intention, something that they wanted to do. They wanted to improve a particular area in their life. They wanted to achieve something specific. They had a big, ambitious goal. And because of the process and many of those reasons that we just discussed, by the month of March, those goals no longer are alive. Those visions that they have no longer exist, and they find themselves resorting back to what used to be rather than investing time, energy, and effort in building what can be. But here's what we're going to do to help us leverage the power of emotional resilience. Comment below, family. We're about to go there this morning. Get back to the basics. Get back to the basics. Salute to Ray. I see you in the building out there on LinkedIn. Shout out to you, brother. Welcome. Cam, I also see you for sure. Randall's in the building. Salute. Get back to the basics, family. Get back to the basics. Let's understand our human nature. Because at its root, what all of us are aiming to do is to spark and initiate some form of change in our life. Now, what often leads to change can be classified into two different categories. We either change when we become inspired by something, or we find ourselves in a situation where we're desperate, and it's absolutely imperative and necessary that we create the change. Again, change in our life, right? When we want to spark any type of change, it's largely due to us being exposed to something. We're inspired by something. You're now thinking on a different frequency. And because you got exposed to something bigger and something better, your mind will never be comfortable going back to what used to be. So you're now inspired to create that change. Or for many of us, you find yourself in this desperate situation when you evaluate your life, you reflect on yourself and where you are, and you look yourself in the mirror and you make the conscious decision, I'm better than this. I can do greater than this. I can accomplish more than this. You're in a desperate situation where your back is up against the wall and you know life has more to offer and you've made up your mind. I'm going to create some change. And in those moments, regardless if you are inspired or you're desperate, what happens is a desire is birthed. Comment below, family. Desire. Now, what's a desire do you want? Cam, I'm glad you asked. A desire is a pulsating thought that transcends everything else. It's a thought that you create within your mind. And because you fall in love with it, because you're emotionally attached to it, it's pulsating on the inside of you, meaning it's vibrant, it's alive. And because it's throbbing, like literally vibrant on the inside of you, it transcends everything else, meaning there may be problems, there may be pain, there may be trauma, there may be issues in your past, there may be a struggle, there may be a challenge, but because you're connected to it emotionally, this is at the top of your mind. It supersedes everything else. That's what a desire is. And I'm reminded of Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich, where he once said, desire is the starting point to any accomplishment. That's where it all begins, where a person creates an idea, they create a vision, they create a desire for something, and they make up their mind, I've got to have it. I've got to have it. And when you connect with it on an emotional level, this is what leads to personal transformation and personal achievement. Now, with that understanding, here's what we need to do. Our responsibility is to continue to flame this fire every single day, to intensify the desire, because what takes place is the process can blow wind on our fire, and before you know it, we no longer have the enthusiasm. The challenges of life, the struggles in our situations can often blind us of why we do what we do, and before you know it, that emotional connection that we have with our goals is no longer there. And we're so focused on the problem at hand that we stop executing consistently. Maybe it's other people that are in your head, right? That are talking in your ear, and they're talking about all the things you should be afraid of and how it's not going to work out, or they're trying to remind you of who you used to be and the life that you used to live. This is killing the fire within. But I want us to understand and fully comprehend in this conversation, it doesn't matter what fire you're dealing with on the outside. Because when the fire on the inside is greater than the fire on the outside, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when you literally begin to redefine possibilities for your life. That's when you can create a new reality and reinvent your life. You can create a brand new life experience because the fire on the inside of you is greater than the fire that's at work on the outside of you. Cam, you remember this, man, back in the day when we were in school, right? I'm reminded of being in PE class, like physical education. Shout out to all the educators out there. They're on the front lines with our future leaders, man, doing great work. But I'm reminded of being in PE class, right? We would play a number of different games and a lot of different activities. But one that I have in mind right now, Micah, is when we used to play tug of war. And for those that may not be aware of the rules of tug of war, the objective is, right, you have this rope, and in the middle of the rope, you have a flag, right? And then you begin to divide the class into teams evenly. One side will go to the right, the other team will go to the left, evenly distributed, right? And the objective was you need to pull that rope across a certain boundary line. And the team that got there first was the one that won. And the way we would set this up, right? Typically, Cam, the student that was the biggest in the class was at the end of the rope. And you remember we used to tie that rope around the student, and their responsibility was to run as fast and as strong as they could to the other direction. And then all the other team members, you have the rope right here. One would be on the left side and the other on the right side. And their responsibility was to pull that rope as strong as they could, using their arms, their legs, and every ounce of their being. In other words, they were using their entire body, everything that they had. The teacher would stand in the middle, and at their signal, we would all go in that moment. And when I begin to think about that game, family, I begin to realize in many cases, it really didn't boil down to who was the biggest, who was the fastest, or who was the strongest when it came to tug of war. Of course, Those factors had a lot to do with who truly succeeded. But what was most important, family, was the one that endured. Because what typically took place, you have two opposing forces going in different directions, and you have one moving to the left and one moving to the right simultaneously. And then over an extended period of time, what would happen was one of those teams began to exhaust themselves. They got tired. They became fatigued. And then once that team got tired, the other team would pick up the momentum, and that momentum would carry them into getting the victory. D1, what are you saying here, man? What I'm saying is this: for us to leverage our power of emotional resilience, we got to use everything that we have. And most importantly, we have to keep in mind it's all about where we direct our focus. That's how we beat and conquer those emotions that are aiming to stop us. I need you to remember who you are, and I need you to remember what you want. And a part of you remembering what you want is the understanding that it's bigger than you. And I need you to place that at the end of that rope to be the anchor. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. And I need you to leverage every ounce of your being and remind yourself as to what you want, who you are, and who you're doing it for. Because on the other side, there's a lot of opposing things that are trying to tug you in a different direction. There's fears, there's doubts, there's discouragement, there's rejection, there's the haters, there's criticism, there's things that are happening in the economy, there's issues of your past, there's trauma that's trying to haunt you. You got to be bigger and stronger than all of that. But most importantly, you got to endure everything that life is throwing at you so you can keep moving forward. What I'm getting at is this, family. We have to understand it's extremely important that when those emotions often seem overwhelming, you have to understand you get to decide what you're going to buy into, where you're going to direct your attention. So yes, you may be lacking the motivation, but at that time, I need you to remind yourself of the desire that you have for your life. And as you're fighting and tugging for that victory, I need you to connect with that thing that's anchoring you. Who's counting on you to show up today? Who's waiting on you to be at your best? Who has a problem that you have a solution for? There's a community of people that are waiting for you to show up with what you have to offer. So we can't give in to the pressures of those opposing forces and let go of the rope, or give in when we become exhausted or tired. You got to keep giving your all and pushing to your next level and be anchored by why you do what you do. And this is how we leverage the power of emotional resilience to be flexible and adaptable in the face of challenges, to create some great creative solutions to strong limitations that are aiming to stop you, to maintain your vision in the face of vicious resistance, to keep believing in yourself even when they think you're crazy and ridiculous. You got to keep tugging and keep pulling so you can get the victory today. If you don't get anything else out of what we described during this conversation, here's the call to action. Before you truly step into this Monday, as you start your day, I want you to take a moment to reflect on who you are. Remind yourself of how you've got to where you are now, meaning the things that you've already overcome, the challenges that you've navigated and figured out, the solutions that you've created to many problems that you faced in your life. And I want you to arm yourself with confidence. I'm talking about approaching this Monday being armed and dangerous with confidence. And I also want you to remind yourself as to what it is that you want, what you truly desire, and get focused on that in this very moment. We can't afford to be distracted by the things that are happening around us. I need you to focus on what's happening within you so you can create that in your reality. I put a post out earlier today, and it's befitting that I mention this post because it ties into what we're discussing today, where I simply said the only motivation that I need is knowing that I'm not where I want to be and operating with the understanding that it's my responsibility to make it happen. So you want to remind yourself as to where you're aiming to be and remind yourself that you always carry the power to create positive change in your life. You carry the capacity to rise above whatever life throws at you. So yes, we're in this tug of war, right? We're in this tug of war. Maybe you fall into that category where you slipped off. You fell off as you created those goals at the top of the year, those objectives that you wanted to accomplish. And maybe for some odd reason, you became overwhelmed, discouraged, disappointed, or frustrated. I need you to step back onto that rope and pull it with everything that you got. The days of us dancing around with our goals got to be over. You got to be fully committed and you got to pull with everything that you have. The days of us showing up only Monday or Wednesday, they've got to be done. You got to show up every single day for yourself in the future that you're aiming to create. You got to show up for you. You got to show up for your future. Show up for the people that you are going to be serving with the gift that you have to offer, and be anchored by that. And remember, the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to those that can endure. Meaning, the test of time will show who's fully committed to what it is that they want. Yes, be strong. Yes, be powerful, but have endurance to get to where you aim to be, because gratification won't always be instant. In many cases, it's delayed, right? But you got to endure the test of time. You got to be committed for the long haul. And through that commitment, you can create your own reality. If you slid into this broadcast and I was unable to give you a shout out, be sure to comment below. And if this is your first time tapped into the stream, I welcome you. I want to shout you out as well. Be sure to comment below, beginning with the number 1, and then place your first name afterward. Again, number 1 in the comment section, and then place your first name afterward. Burn the candle in the middle. You deserve it for yourself. Talk that talk, Will. I see you, G-Ball, for sure. Will says, got to be real with yourself. Got to be honest. Listen to that for sure, brother. Also, family, if we have yet to connect on other platforms, be sure to connect with your boy. Let me put my socials up here on the screen. At D1 Gibson is my handle pretty much on all platforms. Elevation is a must, is the website. Take advantage of all of the resources that are available on the website. Many of them are for free. Again, free 99 is the price. Doesn't cost you anything but just the dedication and commitment to grow and improve. Got many mindset resources, success practices, as well as tap into many of the courses that we have available as well. You'll thank your boy later. It will help you level up in many areas of your life. Ernest, I see you in the building, coming to us by way of LinkedIn. Great day to you, King. Glad to have you tapped in live. Truly inspiring. Appreciate that, Vita. Listen, family, if you guys found value in this conversation, put some fist up in the comments below. And as you're doing that, please share this out with those that you care about. I would truly appreciate that. You never know how someone that you are connected to can benefit from something that we discussed during this conversation. For sure, Ray. Absolutely, brother. Keep building, man, day by day, brick by brick. Remember the people that you serve, man. That's how we continue to leverage our power and move forward with the vision that we have. Got my beautiful wife tapped in. Appreciate you, Angel. Again, family, if you guys found value, share this out with the people that you do personally care about. I would truly appreciate that. With that being said, let's wrap this thing up, because you got dreams to catch and success to create. So we got to get busy being great, and I'm right there with you. I see those fists coming up again. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Also, if you're tapped in on YouTube, be sure to hit that like button right now. I truly appreciate that. It does wonders and a lot with the algorithm by you simply just hitting that like button. So if you did enjoy it, please hit that like button. It will share this information out to those that are interested in this form of content. So I truly appreciate that. I appreciate your support. And again, I appreciate each and every single one of you for tapping in and watching this broadcast and investing time in today's conversation. But most importantly, let's put it to work. Let's take action. Make this week nothing short of amazing. In fact, my challenge to every single person watching this live and everybody watching this on the replay is that today I want you to be effective, be successful, live with some passion, and most importantly, you know what it is. If you don't, let me remind you, 3 pounds to your chest. 1, 2, 3. Be powerful. I'll see you guys soon. We may do a broadcast this Thursday, 7:30 or 7:15 p.m. I'll keep you guys posted. So be on the lookout of that. Got a great topic of discussion that I want to dive into: how to reprogram your mind. A very important conversation. It's a game changer. Some tools that will help you leverage the power of neuroplasticity, that will help you align your mindset with the vision, the values, and the goals that you have for your life. So be on the lookout of that. I'll keep you guys posted if we do go live. Again, I will let you know. Latoya said, "Don't know, I missed the whole podcast. I had customers. Handle your business. No need to apologize, sis. Handle your business. We'll see you soon. You can catch the replay." Absolutely. Again, family, let's wrap this thing up. Have a phenomenal Monday. I will see you all soon. Again, be powerful. Peace.
I can hear the message loud and clear. I'm gonna make it. I can see my shot is here, so now I'm gonna take it. Gotta get up, get out. Time to stand up, get loud. Time to rise up off the floor. And I'm stronger than ever now. Can't hold me down no more. I'm waking up. 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 So I'ma do it right now. Yeah, I'ma do it right now. I ain't giving up and I ain't